Welcome back for another Inventor tutorial. This tutorial here is going to be number 2, so it'll be lesson 2 tutorial, and we'll be making some sort of, we'll call it a widget because I'm not sure exactly what it is. But let's go ahead and get started. So let's create a sketch on our plane. Oops, I actually have something open there. Sketch. All right, let's create that on the XY plane. And, as I look at this, it appears that we are working in millimeters. So let me X out of there and delete that sketch. First, we need to go to our Tools, Document Settings, and we need to change our units. So we're going to degrees, minutes, no, seconds, fine. Degrees, pounds, kilogram here. But you don't have to change all that. Really, all you need to change is your millimeters. Close. All right, let's go ahead and create our sketch again. And I'm going to do a centered rectangle, so I can just go down and pick that rectangle to center. Looks like we're at 75 point by 50 point. And there is our rectangle. Hit check. And I do believe, let me double click on that. It is fully constrained, so it's just double checking. I forgot to look. Extrude this, and we're going to extrude this 15.0 and hit check. Okay, so we have our base there, and I have to flip through these pages because they don't have a complete drawing, unfortunately. So what they have you do here is we're just going to create a sketch on the bottom, and I'm going to snap to the midpoint and just snap all the way over, and that will give me my 50 millimeter diameter circle. Then I'm going to hit check. Now if I double click on that, you'll notice that it is fully constrained. That's because its location is constrained because I snapped to this midpoint, and its diameter is constrained because I snapped to this endpoint here, this corner. So since it's snapped to those points, it can't move at all. So let's hit finish sketch, and let's extrude this thing. Alright, so it looks like we're going the wrong direction, so we need to reverse that, and I believe we need to make it 40 inches, 40.0, enter. Okay. So that looks good right there. They are joined, and I'm going to go ahead and hit check. Alright, next we're going to put a hole through the top face of this. So I'm going to click on there, create a sketch on that. And I'm just going to pick the very center. And it looks like it's a 30 millimeter hole. Check. And I'm going to extrude that. And of course, in this case, I'm going to cut it. And I'm just going to go through all. There's nothing else down there. So I'm going to hit OK. And there's my hole. And moving forward with this. Okay, so now we are going to put a slot in this part, and just got to look for some dimensions here. Okay, so we got a 20 millimeter hole. So I'm going to go ahead and start a sketch on this surface. So I click on that surface, hit sketch, and it'll start the sketch. The 20 millimeter hole looks like it's centered, so I'm going to snap. See how, I'm not sure if you can see this in the video, but there's kind of like a little dotted line that just shows me, it's kind of like a tracking to show me that I'm lined up with this here origin. So I'm just going to create my circle there, 0.0, okay, and then I'm going to dimension it 30 millimeters from the edge. And you can see, even though it was tracking, this doesn't snap. It doesn't snap and constrain it. So you still have to constrain it from this edge, and it is correct. It was 25 millimeter, and now I'm fully constrained. Now, I believe what they have you do is work on the front face, which I think is a little goofy. Not really sure why exactly they have you do that. I personally would rather do something like this. Maybe just take this here to this here and then connect it. And now I have my shape. Then I can come up and I can trim that. I'm guessing maybe they didn't want you to use the trim command. And then of course I would fully constrain this to make sure that no more dimensions are needed. I'm not going to follow through with this. I'm just showing you this is another way. This is how I would normally do it. I wouldn't create another sketch. I wouldn't extrude that hole and then create another sketch to meet up with it from this back face. I think that's kind of goofy. But that's what we're going to do, just since that's the way that the tutorial has you go through it. But this is another way that you could do it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape, and I'm going to do undo, 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 undo. Check. And we are going to extrude that hole the whole way through there. And once that hole is through, we're going to hit OK. And that looks good. And then we're going to start that sketch on this face. And of course, what I'm going to do is find my center point, and I'm going to track from center. And I know it needs to be 15, and I believe it needs to be 20. So there's my box. Now, of course, I do need to constrain this. 15's good. Check. Check. Fully constrained. Finish sketch. And what I can do is I can actually extrude that. What I can do is go to next. So I'll do an extrude. And you can see it takes everything out. I want to go to next. And basically it's going to mesh with that. So I'm going to hit check. And there we go. There is my part. I believe that's all there is to it. Just double check. Yes. So that's it. That's all there is to this part. Again, I would have probably extruded that whole shape from the top, but I think they wanted to show you the to next feature. So as always, if you have questions, you can see me during my office hours or, of course, during class.